Welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. Lots to get into on the show this morning. But before we do that, please do me a small favour. Be sure to drop a like on today's video and make sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner, if this is your first time watching. We're only 2 subscribers away from 41,200. So please go and do that right now. Right, in usual Daily Red Devil fashion, I always like to start the show off with a bit of a conversation, a bit of a question. And today's question is this. Now, we're going to be talking about the goalkeeper situation in detail on today's episode. And I want to know, do we need to replace Andre Onana? That's part 1 of the question. And part 2 is, if we do need to replace Andre Onana, who should we replace him with? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And we will start the show off by talking about James Trafford. So this is obviously a person we've been talking about for quite some time here on the channel. James Trafford obviously plays for Burnley, came through the Manchester City Youth Academy, has Premier League experience. And the headline this morning is that apparently Manchester United have approached Burnley to find out the details of a deal for James Trafford. Now, I said about a month ago that I thought that James Trafford was a good option because he's very young. He's obviously got Premier League experience. I think he would count as homegrown because he's English, but I need to double check that. And he could kind of be a number 2 to begin with, but then I say slowly, hopefully quite quickly take over Andre Onana's place. That's my kind of thinking behind it, because we're not going to be able to sell Andre Onana, I don't think. And if we were, we would lose so much money on him that it wouldn't actually make sense from a financial perspective. Whereas James Trafford, the fee that's being kind of mentioned this morning is somewhere around £20 million, which is, you know, it's not that much money in football terms. And wages obviously aren't going to be a problem because, you know, let's be honest, the wage difference between a Manchester United player and a Burnley player is already astronomical. I can see here, at Burnley, he earns about 25 grand a week. So you could expect at Manchester United, he'd probably earn, what, like 50 grand a week. So you can kind of see the blueprint of how this deal could work. Obviously, Altay Bayındır probably going to leave the club this summer, most likely go back to Turkey. Apparently, we could get somewhere between 8 and 10 million euros for him, which would actually mean a profit in relation to our amortization, financial fair play for the calendar year, which would be good. He's on about 50 grand a week in wages, so that would cover James Trafford's wages. 26 years of age. Do you see what I mean? Like, it all kind of makes sense. And we also obviously know that Tom Heaton is leaving the club in the summer because his contract's up. So Tom Heaton will go. Altay Bayındır will most likely go as well. Apparently he's back from injury as well, by the way, Altay Bayındır. He's back on the grass, so that's positive. He'll probably be on his way out. We only paid 5 million euros for Altay Bayındır from Fenerbahce, and that was in 2023. So in relation to amortization, we've only got about 3 million euros left on that transfer. So if we did, say, get, I don't know, 7-8 million euros, that would mean a 4 or 5 million euros profit on our amortization. So we could actually make a little bit of money from Altay Bayındır. And obviously his wages would cover James Trafford's wages. So I think that makes the most logical sense. I know people like Diego Costa. There's some people saying, you know, Kobel from Dortmund. All of these other top big name goalkeepers. But the problem we have there is that any of those names I've just mentioned are going to cost you probably in excess of £60 million and are going to warrant wages of anywhere from 150 to 200 grand a week, which is a lot. And you can't have 2 goalkeepers on 200 grand a week. Remember, Onana's on, I think it's 150 plus potentially 50 in bonuses. You can't have 2 goalkeepers on that type of money at one club. It just doesn't work. I think with strikers and outfield players, you know, you always have a lot of players in similar positions and you have big name players in similar positions. But with like a goalkeeper, you do always really need to have a number 1 and a number 2. We saw that at Arsenal where they tried to do it with Ramsdale and I can't remember the guy's name. Brain's gone. The Arsenal goalkeeper anyway. Remember they had Ramsdale and the other guy. And in the end, they had to get rid of Ramsdale because it just doesn't work, does it? When you're trying to rotate every single game with 2 kind of big goalkeepers. I mean, you look at Liverpool as an example. Their second goalkeeper is quality, but he doesn't really get to play much, does he? But yeah, I think this James Trafford story would be really, really interesting. So let me read you out the news headline this morning. So this is coming from a couple of different people in the UK. They're reporting that Manchester United have made official inquiries to Burnley about James Trafford. It says that Manchester United want to bring in a goalkeeper who can compete with Andre Onana. And I agree with all of that, because I don't think Altay Bayındır really competes with Onana, does he? Like, he just doesn't. We can say that we think he's better. We can say that we think he deserves a chance. But the fact of the matter is, as it stands at the moment, Altay Bayındır is not competing with Onana. He's not. Even if Onana plays poorly, Altay Bayındır doesn't start, right? So you need somebody else, like a James Trafford, to come in and really, really compete with Andre Onana. Obviously, we've still got... what's the other guy's name? The other goalkeeper we've got who went out on loan. Not Matic Kova. Is it Ratic? Ratic? Can't remember his name. So yeah, we'll see how this one progresses. But as I said, I want you to let me know in the comment section how much of a problem is the goalkeeper situation. And if we were... I just realised how small I look on this. It's because I changed my chair. Quite low down, aren't I? Yeah, David Raya, that was the guy's name, yeah. Yeah, so if does Onana need to be moved on? And if he is, who should we bring in? And my answer is kind of like a tongue-in-cheek one. I think that Onana could stay because no one's going to buy him. And I think that James Trafford comes in, he's the number 2, and then eventually James Trafford takes Onana's place. Because otherwise, we're stuck with... we'll be stuck with lots of goalkeepers, won't we then? So, yeah, that's my take on that. Let me know what you think. We will move on from that and jump on to Aiden Heaven, because there is some positive news coming out this morning in relation to Aiden Heaven, which is really, really great to hear. Because let me just check who reported this story, just so I can give you the full picture. So this is coming out from the Manchester Evening News. And Manchester Evening News are reporting this morning that Aiden Heaven's injury is not thought to be serious as first feared. It says he is now out of the protective boot, which is great, and will resume training after the international break. So that's incredible news, because when Aiden Heaven went down in that game the other day, I was like, oh no. You know, it looked like it could be like a career-ending injury. Going off on a stretcher, looked like he was pretty much crying almost on the pitch. Some people saying, oh, he's snapped his ankle, he's broken his leg. You know, there was all this fear-mongering going around, as there always is. Every single person on Twitter suddenly becomes a specialist doctor. And I think with these types of situations, you do just have to kind of wait. I know it looks bad. I know you always fear the worst because you care about these players, especially when a young player comes into the team and gives 150% and performs and all the rest of it. I'm just watching back some of the highlights here of him against Real Sociedad. He was absolutely quality. But yeah, he's going to be back after the international break, which is, I think... When's the last international game? Let's have a little look. Obviously, England played last night. Oh, so it's not even very long away. I don't know whether the players get a little holiday. Does anybody know? So England play on Monday against Andorra, which is, yeah, literally on Monday. And then our next fixture isn't till the 1st of April, I don't think. So not for another, maybe like another week after that. So I don't know whether they give the players a little holiday. Maybe. Does anybody know? I can't remember how it works usually. Obviously, all the players who didn't go on international duty are already on holiday. I've seen like Xerxes, I think, is in Dubai, etc. Like, so the players who didn't go on international have already gone on their holiday or like on a little break. But I just can't remember whether the people who have gone on international are expected to come straight back, or if... I don't know. Does anybody know the answer? In the comment section, let me know. I can't remember. Radek Vitek, that's the name. Yes. Melcher says, I would be very happy with James Trafford. I would be as well. I think it would be a really sensible decision. I think it'll be a really, really good decision. So hopefully we do get James Trafford. But just to summarise, Aiden Heaven, not a serious injury, out of the protective boot, and will be back in training after the international break. So that's really positive. But let's move on from that and let's talk about Xavi Simons and Yildiz. So this story, again, is coming out from lots of different people in the media this morning, reporting that apparently Manchester United are looking for a new attacking midfielder in the summer. So you have DiMarzio reporting this, you have Sport Bild reporting this, you have Plettigol reporting this. So it's been quite widely reported that apparently Manchester United are interested in Juventus Turkish international Yildiz, and it says that apparently Juventus might be willing to sell him even if they qualify for the Champions League. Fair enough. I've only seen this guy a handful of times, to be honest. I've seen Xavi Simons a lot more. So if there's anybody who watches the Italian league a lot more, let me know. Sorry, he was born in Germany, but he's Turkish international, yeah. So he's only 19 years of age. He's got 4 goals and 2 assists so far this season for Juventus, which is all right. He predominantly can play as an attacking midfielder, a left winger, a right winger, or a striker. Transfer market values him at 45 million, which is quite a lot for a 19-year-old. I don't know. I think he's a decent player from the few games that I've seen him play, but I think 45 million sounds like a lot of money to me. And it's whether Man United have 45 million to go and spend on a 19-year-old. And I'm not sure if they do. Obviously, I haven't seen Manchester United's account, so I can't say for certain, but I think it does seem like a lot of money for a 19-year-old, personally. So, yeah, that's one to obviously keep an eye on for the future. Yildiz to Manchester United from Juventus. One to watch for the summer. And then in relation to Xavi Simons, again, there's more reports this morning suggesting that Manchester United want to sign Xavi Simons. Will that happen? I'm not convinced. I would like it to happen, but I just think the amount of money it would take is astronomical. Red Bull Leipzig paid PSG 50 million euros in the summer, knowing that they would then be able to resell him for more. So they're not going to sell him for less than, say, 60 to 70 million euros, I don't think. So, yeah, that's my take on that, but you can obviously let me know. And then the final story we've got for you this morning is in relation to Borussia Dortmund midfielder Felix Nmecha. Nmecha, is that how you say it? So there's more and more reports this morning suggesting that Manchester United want to go for him. And there is even some reports saying that Dortmund would be willing to sell. Dortmund always really have to sell like one big player every summer, don't they? And apparently this is going to be the guy who is going to leave Dortmund this year. Again, very young, 24 years of age, German international, plays as a holding midfielder. He's exactly the kind of profile we need. He is currently injured, though, with a ligament injury, and the return date is unknown. So I think that kind of worries me a little bit. But, I mean, there still is, 2 months till the end of the season. So you'd hope that he'd be back fit by then. 3 years left on his contract. Valuation is apparently 50 million euros from Dortmund, which I think sounds ridiculous, to be honest. He's a player that's only really, in the last couple of years, started to, make his presence on the scene. He's only played for Germany 3 times, which shows, if at the age of, in your mid-20s, if you've only had 3 appearances for your international team, it shows kind of how late you are to break through. He was, interestingly enough, born in England, and did actually play for England at youth level. And then when he got to under 21s level, he moved over to Germany and he started playing for the German team. So he has dual citizenship, German and English. I mean, all of these players sound great. I still don't think these should be the priority. I think we need a striker. I think my kind of priority list was a striker, a midfielder, and then a goalkeeper. I still think Ederson from Atalanta would be the best option, but there's going to be a lot of teams interested in him. I still think Gyökeres from Sporting would be the best option for the striker. And I think for the goalkeeper, I would be satisfied with James Trafford and keep Onana for another year. And then hopefully James Trafford's good enough. He becomes the first choice goalkeeper and Onana leaves. That's kind of what we have to hold on to. But yeah, you let me know what you guys all think about that. I am going to wrap the video up here, guys. It's just a short one today. I've got a really busy day today. So I've kind of just tried to cram everything into the 15 minutes that we've been live. Thank you very much for watching. I will be back tomorrow as normal. Have a great day. Enjoy your Saturdays. Whatever you're up to. Don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe before you leave. This has been Daily Red Devil, and I'll speak